How do you say how do you say oh shoot, they asked me the other day. Or my nephew asked me.
Yeah.
He said, "How do you say that in Salish?" And I
What
was
is it?
like, "You know what? I don't know. What? It would just happen." Eagle. How do you say eagle?
Which kind?
Let's just say a golden eagle.
Malkanoops.
Oh, how about a baldy?
uh, Pakalkay.
You just made that up.
Yeah. You can get away with a
Huh?
lot of things, like I said. Just make it sound real guttural and poppy. Oh,
How, how do you say it? Is there a word for the big drum?
the big drum. No. I mean, it's just a made up word, you know.
Or not a hand drum.
Yeah. It's just like a bigger version of a drum. The pumin is the
Well,
drum, but I think it's like kutunt pumin or pumin, just meaning a bigger drum.
well, isn't you said it was a made up word? I thought that was interesting.
Well, not made up, but I mean, I guess descriptive of it visually rather than,
Aren't aren't all words made up?
well, I guess, but
Are they from divine prompting?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, legend would have it that the Native Americans learned their language from listening to nature, the babbling of a stream. Um,
Uh-oh. I actually heard this one with the Salish people.
well, I'm just making this up. I never heard it. So tell me more.
I heard it because how do you say water in Salish?
Apsáalooke.
Yeah, I heard that one time.
Oh, really? There's some there's some crazy stuff happening, you know, that's sort of straying from the things that I remember, the things that I grew up knowing. Like, I don't know, it kind of almost seems like people are just kind of filling in the holes with uh I don't know if I'd say I can't confirm or deny that they're made up, but it appears as if some things are given somewhat of liberty to come up with some things that might sound right. I don't know. I don't know though. I can't say for sure. But you know,
Yeah,
you
don't,
get
I
that
mean,
feeling. You get that feeling that something just doesn't seem right.
yeah, actually,
Yeah.
that leads us to that's a good segue to
No.
what I want to talk
No.
about, but we're not there yet.
No. 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 Don't say segue. Choose a different word.
Transition.
you can
Why
say.
can't I say
You can
segue?
say segue. I just
Why
don't
don't I
like it.
say segue?
Or listen, segue, piggyback, echo. None of those. Not on this
Segue.
podcast. Not on this podcast.
Uh-uh.
Nuh-uh.
No, is
I
it
want to
is it
piggyback on your
Bush?
thought there. I want to piggyback
Is
on your
it
thought.
Bush League? Is it Bush League?
No, no, no. I'm
Hey,
just,
Miranda, you gotta use the camera so we can see facial expressions.
I'm just kind of hacking on. You know, you're in a meeting and somebody, you know, the usual. Oh, it's a good segue to, and then change the topic. Or I'm gonna piggyback off of that comment that Jim just mentioned, and then they say something. You know, I'm just picking on people in meetings because I choose not to
Yeah,
use those terms.
yeah.
Segue, piggyback,
Segue.
Echo.
Segway sounds like a Cree word.
Segway some Segway some. Yeah, I think it is.
Only made the cheque
Segway sama. Yeah. I think it is a Cree word.
That sounded real.
Sounded legit, yeah.
Segway sema. Segway semano makota.
Makota.
Cheque stamono. Only made the. I don't know.
You're making stuff up now. Hey, I want to show you something. I want you to listen to something. I don't know if I showed you this before, but I'm gonna I want you to listen. Let's see here. I want you to listen to this. This is an old recording, really old. Well, I don't know about old. It's old comparative. Let's see here. Yeah, you ready? I'm gonna have to do a little scrubbing because I don't think I'm in the right spot.
That's an interesting choice of words.
I know, scrubbing, yeah. Okay. Can you hear that?
Thanks, Sid. Now Sid's going to get some of our singers together.
Okay.
So that you can hear how we do some of the Flathead songs.
Okay, hear that?
I won't name the songs they will sing because if you don't recognize them, then the names are better left unsaid.
You hear that?
Actually, the reason for making these recordings is so that you can give us comments and pointers on how to improve them.
Okay.
I doubt that we will ever put any of your singers out of business, but we do hope that we can be a credit to them and bring an appreciation of the Flathead music to people in this part of the country. So, as Lou Tillier would say, okay, spinte.
Okay, here it comes. Here it comes. I nailed it. All right. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Well, for one, they're singing on the beat.
Okay. Yes.
So we'll go ahead and get that out of the way.
Let's critique. Singing on the beat. Yeah.
Are these non-native folks?
I don't know. What do you think? I'm curious your opinion. Now, this is probably recorded in okay, it's recorded in I think in the 50s, maybe late 40s. I don't know.
And it's bad. I mean, it is bad.
It's horrible, man.
So,
did you recognize the song? What?
It's that round bustle tune or whatever they call that. What is that called?
Prairie chicken.
The chicken dance song.
The prairie chicken dance. Yeah.
What did you think, Miranda?
I know it sounded interesting. Just giving a little bit of chipmunk-ish.
Oh yeah.
Chipmunk. Yeah.
Yes. Chipmunk war dance songs.
So this is
I did enjoy your guys' dance moves though.
Only paid Patreon sponsors get to see those dance moves. Now, if you're a Patreon sponsor, you can become one for as little as $2 a month, which is a really minor contribution if you think about your daily expenses. It's about 1/8 of a Starbucks latte. right?
$2 for this amount of knowledge is the bargain buy, or the Costco of knowledge.
Yeah, get this by the bulk, man, and cheap, cheap.
Payday.
There's some other good ones on this, but I'm not going to play it.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
So this come off of these reel to reels I got, and it's a recording that was sent to Louis Nine Pipe, and somehow it ended up in the hands of Larry Parker. And apparently this is a them dance troops, like I think they're like Boy Scout, or they're like little Indian hobbyists,
Yeah,
apparently
like Camp Winnemucca or whatever.
Camp Rain a Lot, or Camp Rain.
Yes.
Rain and snow.
Camp Alluvial Fan.
Whoa. You went straight geomorphic. Way to go, man. I'm proud of you. Alluvial Fan.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Anyway, hobbyist group from Cleveland, and I guess they met. I don't know the full story. I tried to reach out to one of these folks on the recording years ago to maybe they can give me the backstory, but I never reached. I could never get a hold of anybody. But yeah, they sing a bunch of songs on there, some old Flathead songs, some old, just like how hobbyists are. They'll sing anything, some stomp dance and all kinds of stuff. But it's, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But pretty standard. And I bet you since that time, nothing has really changed. Like you could probably find a group like that today.
Yeah, you could. Unfortunately, too, there's native people who sing like that now. I said it.
You said it. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a history to that, though. A long, complicated history. But I don't know if we're talking. You wanted to segue, so I'm going to let you segue.
I don't know. Segue our fake Cree language.
Yeah, fake Cree. We sound like these people on the tape probably to Crees. They're like, oh my God, listen to this.
Well, I don't. Okay, so here's what I had: an eventful week, right? Bubbly. Hey, Miranda, we tried those, didn't we? What?
The bubbly.
We gotta work on Miranda's podcast voice. Like you gotta project into the microphone.
Yeah, sit up a little bit. Get you back off the wall. I'll make you sleepy.
Oh,
shrug your shoulders a bit. Shrug your shoulders a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Voice a little deeper.
There it is.
And then you're just gonna.
What is this?
Open
the diaphragm. Yeah.
Open the thoracic. Thoracic.
Show me where's the diaphragm. Show me where the diaphragm's at.
Your thoracic cavity.
thoracic cavity. Push.
Like right below the rib, like the fifth rib, the boss rib. Yeah, just get it.
Like you're taking that energy ball.
Yeah, the energy ball. All right,
the energy ball. So here's what happened. Let's
hear it. Let's break it down.
I'm not going to name any names or anything, but so we invited Miranda on the podcast today because she's an active scholar, native researcher and scholar, right? As opposed to like me, I'm not doing any research. I'm just talking shit on a podcast all the time.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I beg to differ, but yeah, let's go.
But we're always talking. Me and Miranda are always talking about her research, or like, so it's kind of like igniting this, like, the academic part of me.
Okay.
So we talk a lot about her work and like what she's doing, and that part we can talk about that part later. But anyway, she's taken a course, and in this particular course, a speaker was invited. She recorded it, so we listened to it, and I was triggered.
Okay.
I was triggered by this recording.
Okay.
And what it was. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, let's get a little background first, man. What?
Well, we'll let her do that.
Tell us what you're studying. For anonymity reasons, you don't have to tell us where. I don't know. Do we do that? Should you sign a waiver?
You share whatever it is you want to share, but it's up to you. But your research topic, at the very least.
Yeah, and we'll let you review this. And if you don't like anything on this, we can delete it, or you can opt out. That's the informed consent, right?
Yeah. You guys are freaking me out.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, we want to be concerned with your safety. So if you do feel like any sort of we can refer you to tribal health. We got a number for you to call. Okay, all right. I'm going on.
If at any moment, you feel triggered or no longer,
you need a magnet with that information on it.
He said pregnant. If anytime you feel pregnant, or
if at any time.
Pregnant with knowledge, that is. Pregnant with knowledge.
With wisdom with child, I believe it's called.
A wisdom child. If you feel like you're birthing a wisdom child.
Yeah, it's Aaron.
Let us know.
I'm in the second trimester of my wisdom child. Okay.
Oh God.
You're
okay.
You're on.
Okay.
You're on, Miranda.
Go. Yeah. Whatever you took out of all that, go.
Wait.
Introduce yourself.
Was gonna say something. Okay.
No, that was it. I just went off into some weird rant. You're good. Go.
Okay, so my name's Miranda Rowland.
Now wait a minute. I'm gonna stop you right there.
What?
I don't want to academic intro. We don't do that here.
What?
You don't have the talking
I'm real
stick
good at that, though.
jokes.
The spirit stick.
The spirit stick is not present.
Actually, in Indigenous research method, it's called the medicine stick.
Oh yeah. Well, it comes in varieties depending on which nation you are representing. Some use a stone
in which you feel comfortable with. And some use a scone.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Toning it down. Okay, go ahead. You just say who you are wherever you want in the way you are accustomed, in the manner of your tribal people. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I started it, and then you said no academic.
I know.
But I feel like that. So I'm from Lodgegrass. Grew up there, here and there. But if you ask Aaron, he says I'm not from Lodgegrass.
Oh
no, it's a joke. She's from Lodgegrass.
I'm from Lodgegrass, Montana. But I didn't grow up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I go to MSU Bozeman. I'm in the Earth Sciences department. I'm researching the fire and vegetation history of Apsáaloke's Twin Lake. My research goes back 12,000 years, which is pretty cool. So I'm doing a reconstruction of fire events over that amount of time.
Yeah.
And looking at changes in vegetation.
Okay.
So with that, I started kind of thinking about how natives used fire, right? like with the burning aspect of it, and just kind of started delving into that. So I guess that's kind of how I got, I was used to researching like using scientific method and, everything that I had learned in junior high, high school, college, and then I started looking at cultural burning and figured out that I don't know how to do that.
You personally, you personally have
Yeah,
never started
yeah.
a cultural burn. You've never been to a 49?
No, well, like I have. Don't tell
You've
my
never
mom.
helped start
Just
a fire
kidding.
at a 49, because that's kind of cultural burning, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, okay.
Does Crow Fair count? I'm kidding.
Did you start a grass fire at Crow Fair or
No,
something?
no,
Fireworks.
no.
Fireworks. Yeah.
Fireworks.
Fireworks.
Fireworks. Yeah, fireworks. Roman candles.
A Roman
Um,
candle.
I
Okay,
don't know
keep
if
going.
that counts.
Keep going.
Anyway, so the actual research of like doing archive research and talking to people and, I guess kind of gathering data that way, information, I
Mhm.
realized right away that I was super unfamiliar with it, even
Okay.
though, I went to Little Bighorn.
Yeah.
And just, but it really reminded me of like when I did talk to people, just like how normal conversations go when you visit with them about things and you try to pick their brains and kind of,
Mhm.
I guess it was unfamiliar territory
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I
So
got it. So
yeah, I don't know.
So
Oh no, go ahead.
So you're trying to achieve a master's or a PhD? Did I miss that?
A master's.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, master's.
No, yeah, I'm in my master's. I'm in my master's program.
Master's program, MSU.
Which is in ecology, right? The overall thing would be ecology, or what would the degree say?
Earth science would be
Earth science.
It'll say earth science.
Yeah.
So I'm in the earth science department, but it's like paleoecology.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I see. Well, I mean, there's a number of things to talk about right there that you just said. Some things that are.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Go ahead. What?
Well, that's so we talk a lot, right? We talk a lot about, especially like landscapes, the crow relationship to land. Like we visited a lot about this stuff, and then also just Indigenous research method in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The whole idea of like how to use tribal knowledge and what that looks like.
Yeah.
And because we talk so much, I'd like to think that like she's starting to understand the way I think, right?
Yeah.
Miranda?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So yeah. Anyway, her studies led her to a certain course, which is what led to these events of today.
Okay.
Which is what triggered me, and I went on this like scoping mission where both of us did, where we were calling people and you were one of them, where we were asking this question, but we'll let you finish. I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
Let me finish?
Yeah, you were talking. I interrupted you.
Oh, no.
I'm
just trying to get the flow, because I was going to go off on something else, but I forgot there was a trigger.
Well, now I want to know what.
Well, no, I wanted to talk about archival research, in particular data, and in particular how that gets utilized both in academics and out of academics. But I think that's a different conversation, because the important one is this. But no, it is. I don't know though. No, it is. I think it is.
Oh, okay.
It might cross over, but let's talk about the trigger.
Okay.
Because this is the important one.
Miranda, set this up for us. Yeah, and remember, you don't have to say people's names or anything, but just kind of set this whole thing up.
Well, I think this is going to be a familiar narrative that I think I'm guessing that a lot of Native scholars, not a Native graduate students encounter. So I want to hear it.
Well,
Yeah,
I
and I
guess
think
that was
others want
kind
to hear
of
it too.
Yeah.
well, okay, so that's what I thought too, right? Because like if there's anything that you encounter, like in anything that you do, and in this instance it's grad school, right? But I think about that and like, asking Aaron about it, like I talked to my family and I talked to my dad, my dad, did a dissertation.
Okay.
And he studied the Northern Cheyenne tribe. So when I have questions about academic things, I like to pick people's brains.
Yeah.
So in this instance, I just we have presenters that come in and talk, about different subjects. And we had a presenter come in and, she was talking about culture, like traditional practices, just, food systems, stuff like that, right? Like
Yeah.
how, you know,
Yeah.
how natives had used the buffalo before, and whatnot.
Okay.
And I don't know, it kind of didn't sit that well with me because it didn't feel like there was a lot of depth in it. It felt I felt like
Yeah.
it could have been better,
Yeah.
and it kind of hit home for me because like, these are native people that we look up to and who are examples for us, as we're moving through grad school,
Yeah.
and I guess that I felt like that was kind of triggering for me, because like I come from the reservation,
Yeah.
went to school there, and I feel like I'd like to think I'm grounded in it,
Yeah.
come home a lot. And it just makes me wonder like about like other natives and academics and like how they deal with those types of things or have they run into those types of things where you see a spectrum of people where they're either you know they have a lot of like I feel like a lot of knowledge or they're active in their communities, they participate in cultural events versus not at all and not really being in touch with them. And I feel like it's important. I feel like it's important to like be with your communities. I feel like it grounds you and kind of gives you like it's part of your sense of self, I feel like.
Right.
I don't know. So I'm trying to start it. I don't know, Aaron, if like if you had thoughts about that or
Well, no.
Okay.
I do, but
okay. Well, let me just back up. Let me just back up for 1 second.
Okay.
So we can get this. So we can follow along. So there's a course, and there was a speaker in the course that talking about, in summary, Indian things, and it.
Oh yeah.
It made you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or it didn't seem right. Something didn't seem right.
Yeah.
And this person is apparently also a native person.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead. And what they were saying apparently lacked some depth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I got a lot to say about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Then we'll let Aaron go ahead.
No, I'm kidding.
Because he's getting ready. He's loading up his mic. He's getting ready.
No.
Yeah.
No, you go.
It's a Canadian standoff. Oh no, you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean like a lot of the things I feel like that I've kind of encountered like in my research, dealing with like, talking about Western knowledge versus traditional knowledge and traditional ecological knowledge. Like, I feel like I've run into those terms quite a bit in in these past 2 years,
Oh yeah.
And so, I mean, it's interesting to hear like other people talk about it,
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm pretty receptive to like people's points of views, because I'm always trying to add to like my knowledge base, especially from other Native scholars.
Yeah. Okay. So let's hear it, Aaron, because you were just about ready to break something down for me. Because I have some questions. and I have some answers and I have some experiences that I want to add to this. But let's hear it before I go off.
Well, I want to rewind a little bit to earlier in the year.
Okay, let's rewind.
Miranda had some guests coming to Crow to spend the day in the archives with her.
Okay.
So, but prior to that visit, I was very opinionated. And I was pretty opinionated, right?
Meaning you didn't agree or you had a concern?
Probably both. I think both.
Okay. Didn't think they ought to be there, and was concerned why they were there.
Yeah, and it wasn't because their intentions were bad.
Okay.
I see this happen a lot with like Native scholars where they're bombarded by their non-Native mentors. So it's typically not other scholars. It's not other like their cohort. It's actually like the professors and the lead researchers and things. They kind of bombard Native students. And I think I even used the term hijack. They hijack their research. And for whatever reason this happens, I don't know why. And so I was encouraging her to like be really aware of that. But because of my approach isn't always gentle, right?
Okay.
And I'm working on it.
Okay. So you're a bit crass.
We got into it.
That's what you're saying.
We got into an argument. Like straight up and down, like 6 o'clock. We got into an argument.
Oh, in the morning or the evening? Because that makes a huge difference.
It was like all day, I think. No, I'm just kidding. I think I know. I mean, I
Did
know
the dishes
now,
get
like,
done?
Yeah, the dishes.
Oh, that's a good argument. That's a good argument. When the dishes get done, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
I mean, I know now that my approach wasn't great, but I was like really like staunch in like the way I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
And having had that disagreement, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just laying the groundwork for this. So keep in mind, we talk about this stuff all the time. We talk about culture, we talk about research, we talk about academics.
Yeah.
She listens to the podcast, so it's also like that. Sometimes we just talk about the podcast, whatever. So it's always a topic.
Yeah.
It's fun. I have a lot of fun with it. So keep in mind, I'm always like critiquing this certain people's approach to like studying Native people. I'm a bigger critic of our own people.
Okay.
Like I think I'm actually really like aware of Native researchers that are doing what I think is bad work.
Okay.
And so she tells me she's going to have this guest. So, and you can jump in anytime, Miranda.
Well, okay.
But no, so I'm here for the ride. No, I'm kidding.
So
I'm getting the other side right now.
Yeah.
So she says, I recorded her after this lecture's over. I recorded her, so we'll have to listen to it.
Disclaimer, so. I record all my presentations so that I can go back and listen to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So anyway, we got this little trip planned. So we're going on this trip.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
So we listened to it. So we're like listening to it. And I get like, I think I remember there was the 8-minute mark. And I was like, I stopped it and I had things to say. So then we could continue to watch it. Keep in mind, it's a 55-minute lecture that took us a day and a half or a whole day to listen to. Like, because I kept stopping it. And then it was nice because then Miranda starts saying stuff. She's like, yeah. Like, so she's like, so I could kind of see this like like
Yeah.
almost like there's a certain level of like academic confidence that's coming out, like trusting her opinion. So she's saying it. So we're driving, we're like, we're doing a podcast without recording, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So this is all after the day before we were part of these events in Bozeman
Okay.
that basically fell apart. These events had fallen apart for another reason. So, but it was like fringed native people on the fringes, native people who are practitioners, non-native researchers and academics trying to interact with those circles, right?
Okay.
So this happened on Friday.
Okay.
So these are like three different. So my brain's
lost.
already like,
I'm getting lost.
no, that's easy to do.
But okay, let me just back you up there. Let me tell you what I hear. Then you can start back from where you're at.
All right.
So you're debriefing about a guest speaker in a class, right?
Yeah, the class was on like Monday.
Okay, and you were also returning from an event that
on
had
this past Friday. Yeah,
that had a certain type of indigenous or native people that were saying certain things. No.
I mean,
okay. That's where I got lost.
There was no talking. There was no talking at this event. There was supposed to be this unveiling of this mural, basically a mural that was dedicated to the tribes and a plant that signifies their people, right? But it fell apart.
Oh,
so
okay.
The person that was running the event calls me, says it got shut down. They don't want to do it. They're saying we're not working with tribes directly, when in fact she was working directly with the official representative of tribes. She was working with preservation officers, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how I got in. So anyway, out of support, Miranda and I still went to their coffee. They had a coffee hour on Friday.
Okay.
Which was supposed to be this big unveiling event anyway.
Yeah.
So they still kind of did like a soft unveiling. But we went.
Okay.
Which anyway, so that plays a little bit into my attitude. That's what I was getting
at. Okay. I'm connecting it.
So then Friday. Yeah. So Friday night, Saturday, we're going to go on this little road trip. And that's when she plays the recording.
Okay.
So keep in mind, I still have this like befuddled frustration from the day before.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. You're riding with a bit of a grudge.
Yeah, I would say yeah. Say yeah. Not much. It's not
well,
like
not
I was
a grudge,
sitting around
but
like grinding my
grumble.
teeth, but you know,
a small grumble.
Well, my major frustration is I went there wanting to get mad at white people and I didn't. So I was like, I ended up being
with the
nice.
Rage. The rage didn't have an outlet.
Yep. So then I had to find it somewhere else. So she plays this recording.
Okay.
And then I'm immediately triggered.
Okay.
But that's all fine and well. This is how you play into this, and this is how Miranda plays into this.
Okay, so this is gonna bring it all together. I'm ready. Here we go.
This will bring it all together. So we had the Friday event thing, her lecture, all this stuff. We listened to the recording.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you had sent me a paper you recently finished.
Correct.
And you're publishing, or it's being published right now. It is published.
It is published. Correct.
It is published. So just for fun, Miranda said, I can't even remember who said it, if it was me or her, but we decided to do a little preview on your paper.
Yeah, because you wanted to critique it.
In all honesty, I wanted to like find something to talk shit to Shandin about.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, and you should.
But
if I'm writing garbage, you should tell me.
It ended up.
Okay.
I ended up observing something that I thought was pretty remarkable.
Okay.
And that I've never gotten to see, and I don't know if I'll ever see. Yeah. So Miranda's reading the paper, read your abstract, which by the way was great. And so we're going through this.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, we press pause and we talk, like we say, oh, see what he's saying right there. And then she makes comments, right? She says things like, this is what it should be like. I want to read more stuff like this. So then we keep going. Then it's like, that's exactly right. Like we're just in agreement.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
and then you ever have those moments where like it just changes. Things change. The mood changes, everything changes. But I'll let her tell that part because I'll let her decide how much she wants to say or whatever. But this led me to this question of these moments. Like, who has these moments?
Yeah.
What do you remember when you had these moments? But anyway, go ahead, Miranda. I'll let you take over.
Okay. So we were reading the paper, right? And I'm going through and I'm like, okay, here's the abstract. Here's the intro. We're going through and I seen the figure, right? You had the figure in there. And so we're reading paper and then I get through the abstract and I'm like, this is like, and excuse my French, but I'm like, this is badass, and that's, Aaron was agreeing and then we're reading through it and you're like dissecting as you're going. And I can see the parallel between your paper and I can see it in my own tribe, right? And I'm Crow and Northern Cheyenne. And I can see what you're describing. You're talking about relationships between humans and plants or natives and plants. And I think in there you even say, what did he say in there, Aaron? Remember we were reading it and he was like, you're the words
about the
falling out of my head.
romanticism.
No, about them being separate. About the plant and humans being separate. Does that ring a bell? And like you say it in there, you're very explicit about it. And like, as you're going through and I'm reading it and it's like interesting. It's, it's engaging, and I can see the way you describe those in that paper, like the relationships and whatnot and how you're talking is like, I can see that same structure within our tribe, and I'm like, this feels real. This feels like real research. And the quality of it is there. Like it's legit. And then I was telling Aaron and I was like, this is what it should be like. Like this is what I should be reading more of. Like where do I get more of this? Because I've run into sources where they're like, I don't know how to describe if it's superficial or like romanticizes being Native American or being enrolled in a tribe and just playing into those generalizations or those stereotypes, and it took, going through research these past couple of years and then talking to Aaron about everything, trying to understand it, like Indigenous research methods. He talks about it so much and I'm like, try to absorb it, like what he's talking about. And then I had this presentation where I felt like it just could have been better. I feel like it just romanticized being Native. And then I read your paper and I was talking to Aaron about it and it just like clicked. Where I was like, holy cow, just the quality of the research and the difference in the research was I don't know, it was just there. So it was a little bit like an epiphany for me. And I just thought like, that's something that I need to do with my research is I need to be more assertive, and have like more confidence in myself to do it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It certainly does. And I think this is I don't know if it seems like a common issue that I've seen repeated over and over, probably since I was in school, and Aaron probably has the same experience, but the sort of the body of native scholarship is sort of lacking, and it follows the thing that you said. There's a lack of depth, There's a lack of depth. I don't know how many things I've read about Indigenous, about Native American, whatever, and but it doesn't lay out in practical terms what those things mean. Like you can, there's three popular words like native epistemology, native ontology, and native axiology. You hear people use those words all the time, both native and non-native, but they don't follow the path to how that's operationalized and how it works. So it becomes this really broad, general thing, and it's usually has a little hashtag like all things are related, natives are holistic, everything's connected, everything's got a spirit. But there's this huge black hole of, well, what does that mean? And I think when we say those things, like if I told Aaron about, oh yeah, this thing's got spirit, and him and I will know what that means. When we say that in English, we have an agreement already because we have very similar life experience and understanding of things. But when we say that to non-Indian people, they don't know what we mean, and we don't have necessarily the time, or maybe we don't even have the sort of the English construct to illustrate what that means as we understand it together. It's a term that they call like hermeneutical injustice, where you're not dumb, you just don't have the tools to say to another person of another worldview the kind of things that you understand. Just don't have them. So
Jesus Christ, dude.
you, I, and Aaron, we come from maybe one or two or three generations that have engaged in this type of educational structure. That's it, man. Like my grandparents didn't speak English. They didn't go to school. None of that. So when we say spirit, the spirit of the rock, I mean, how can we say it anymore outside of an indigenous understanding or a native understanding that would make people understand? We don't have the things like people like non-native people can reference, oh, Plato and the great philosophers understood this, and that. And they can reference this long history of written material that helps them and other people to understand what the heck they're talking about. So the lack of depth, I think, is because of that. It does not serve us any purpose, nor has it long enough a time passed to where we've committed those things to some sort of form of communication that other people can understand. That's one thing. Number one. So that paper I wrote.
Can you say that word again?
Which one?
I feel like this is a learning.
Oh, the hermeneutical. Go ahead. Let's hear Aaron say it. Hematoma. It's not a tumor.
Oh, is that Arnold?
It's not a tumor. No, it's not a tumor.
Go ahead. Say the word.
Hermeneutical injustice. I don't know. Yeah, it's
hermeneutical.
Yeah, it's part of a larger part of a phenomenon called epistemic injustice. This is not me. This is just things I read. You know, I'm not expert in these things. I just know of these things. But they seem to describe this phenomenon pretty well.
You're learned.
I'm learned. I know how to skim just enough articles that I can pick these things up. Okay, go ahead.
I'm curious to know what number 2 is. You said number 1, so what's number 2?
Oh, okay. I'll go down the list. Let's go down the list.
Down that. I want to go down the list.
Here's the things I heard, and so let me back up then, because I want to finish my diatribe on lack of depth. So some of the lack of depth also comes from, and I don't want to use the word, man. I don't want to use it because it's sad. I don't like talking about it. You know, a lot of our parents and grandparents got shipped off to the boarding schools, right?
Yeah.
That happened. And then
Okay.
if they survive that and they come back and they lost this connection with their parents and their grandparents, and then they get old, and then they have all these young, eager native adults and young people asking them for knowledge and wisdom. It's like that Powell Highway, remember? Everybody's always coming here asking for some good old Indian wisdom. Well, I ain't got none. Remember that?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. That was in Lame Deer.
yeah. Well, so that it seems like this thing happens a lot, right? And the human ego is a very fragile. I know that because I'm a human and my ego is somewhat fragile. But we mitigate that fragile ego through norms and customs that help us to maintain a certain degree of honesty. So we can say what we know, how much we know, and what we don't know and how much we don't know, and be okay with it. Well, you can only imagine these older people, being looked up by to all these people, being put on a pedestal as being, the wise elders. The popular scholarship does that too. It says these elders, and they use the word elder, first of all. They have all this wisdom and knowledge. So what are they going to do? They're like, man, I guess, then there's sort of their ego. I don't know if this is completely true. It's just like a theory. Their egos become compromised. So when they get asked about something, sometimes they're going to make things up, or they're going to maybe sort of glorify or magnify something to appease the questioning that they're getting. So they don't look like they don't know, because that's a hard pill to swallow for someone to say, I don't know. For certain people to say, I don't know. That's a tough one. So often you get things that lack depth, but they also that don't feel right or don't seem right. Like a lot of these things we hear, we're a relative of the plant. We're a relative, and you fill in the blank. Popular scholarship has sort of adopted that idea that everything indigenous under the sun is a relative to us. We're a relative to the bison, a relative to data, a relative to whatever. But that really cheapens the true relationship that we have with those things. We can't be related to all these darn things. We're barely a relative to our own self in that sense. We don't really treat each other very well as humans. So lack of depth leads to a lack of inaccuracy as well. So you lose that deep, complex idea that follows along with all these things. I'm still on number one. You want to hear more? I want to hear your thoughts on that first.
Me?
Go ahead, Miranda. Yeah.
Anybody.
I mean, me and him talk all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I think that, and we talked about that, like how it's almost, and it's even a conversation that I had with my dad, where you talk about people that are like in an academic setting, kind of, promoted or put on a pedestal, kind of like how you said. And, and I feel like ego is part of that, it kind of feeds into that, and I think you can almost get lost in it,
Oh yeah. It's really the word is seductive. I don't want to use the word because it sounds weird. It is, man. Imagine imagine standing in front of 50 people that are just just looking at you in awe because of the things you're saying. There's a lot of temptation to make stuff up or to appease what you think they ought to hear.
Yeah. And the justification is that you're using real knowledge, but you might embellish it, or you might alter it, or you might enhance. I don't want to say, like, sometimes people don't lie, but their ego allows them leeway and certain liberties that normally wouldn't be there among their own people, right?
Yeah.
My issue with academics
Yeah.
and this ego feeding is that it's allowed people who are, and I want to make sure I say this, there's nothing wrong with learning your culture later in life. That's not what I mean, and there's nothing wrong with being a descendant of a tribe and showing some sort of tribute to that bloodline you have, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like academics, universities have become the NICU for the culturally impoverished.
The what?
Like
the MICU? What is a MICU? What's a MICU?
Nick.
Nick?
NICU.
NICK? Nick?
Yeah, like for babies, a NICU.
What the heck is a NICU?
NICU? NICU.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, NICU.
What is it?
For babies?
Is
like
it
in
like
hospitals?
Is it like a pacifier?
No, it's for like babies who are struggling and they
It's
keep
like
them in ICU.
intensive care.
Oh,
Intensive care for babies.
Like a neonatal intensive care unit. NICU. I got it. Okay, NICU. Okay, keep going. All right. I want the
so
listeners
universities
to follow
have
along.
become
Okay. The NICU.
They've become this for late cultural learners. It's because we allow people to excel too quickly. Like in native country, like if I wanted to be a certain way, if I go to Crow, there's steps I have to follow, regardless of what my degrees say, regardless of what my position, even with my tribal government says. There's rules. There's rules that I have to follow. And regardless of what people say, just like we were talking about singing in a past episode, that there's a hierarchy. There is a hierarchy.
There is.
There's rules to follow.
Yes.
And every time you go veer in and out of those rules, you're put in check. Immediately put in check.
Yeah.
Sometimes these rules aren't necessarily a cultural thing, but they're a pace thing.
Yeah.
Your pace is too fast, so they'll check you. Hey, slow down.
Yeah.
And that can be done in many ways. That could be like saying we're just not going to give you that right or that way or that whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So slow down. That's your cue from your community to check yourself. And so as long as your community or your tribe is always the audience, it's always the rubric in how you're going to do your work.
Yeah.
You never really actually experience that thing we're talking about because you're in a constant state of peer review.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's constantly what I see in academics is they've allowed people on the fringes of culture to now become the voices of the cultures, which is dangerous to me because these are people, because I would consider myself a fairly cultural person.
Okay.
But in terms of knowledge and practice, I don't have it all.
Yeah.
I don't know really that much. So if I go to a talk or a lecture and I'm listening to somebody talk and I'm like, I know myself, I know that I'm really not in a position to talk about certain things.
Yeah.
But now this person is, I know it's fake because if I'm not there yet and I'm talking to the source and I'm living in the source, and if I'm not there, there's no way that you 600-700 miles away from your community and you just found out that you're native or you just found out that you have some ancestry. There's no way you're going to learn those nuances and the amount of time, but you're up here talking about them.
Yeah.
And you're talking about them. You could talk about them to white people. That doesn't bother me. You're talking about them to young native scholars. And you're going to impact the way they do their work, the way they think, and it's going to manipulate them in a way that can be dangerous, not for their academic work, but for their actual intellectual growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. That brings me to my second point, which is the thing you said. There's a spectrum of scholars, and we've talked about this before. And the same thing that you said, all the spectrum of indigenous scholars, native scholars. Yeah, I mean, some people just didn't have it the way others did.
Mm-hmm.
But the important thing is what you said, is that if there is a methodology, if there is a construct that keeps us from telling lies or embellishing, if you're not connected authentically, I mean, you can even go one more step, because you can say, oh yeah, I'm connected to my community, but which part of that community? Because even within that community, you can have a lot of variance as to what might be the actual norm of that community. You know what I mean? That's present too. And so just imagine, even just in this little these two little examples that we talked about, or the thing you said and that I said and Miranda said, just imagine universities trying to hire people without all that understanding, without all that. You can get away with so much, man.
I feel like that's why they stay in that too.
Yeah.
They get hired and then they stay that. That's
Yeah,
why you have these like 20, 30, 40-year-old legacy people in these academics. But when you go to things at home, or when you even go to basic functions, they're not there. They're not there.
No.
And that doesn't mean, now again, that doesn't mean people can't know things. It's people know things. People have knowledge.
Yeah.
But again, it's how that knowledge is attained, how it's used, and who that knowledge is for.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always go back to, I'm not a bridge to divide guy. It doesn't bother me if white people don't understand me.
Yeah.
That's not my audience.
Yeah.
Those are for different people. Now, and if in my journey or whatever in my good path, remember she kept saying that, Miranda, or your good trail. Yeah.
Yeah.
If in your good trail you find resilience.
Yeah. Of course.
Decolonize the way you think. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, if
I feel like you're doing an infomercial now.
Yeah. if white people learn something from what I say, right on. But that at no point are they truly ever my real audience.
Yeah.
I don't do the work I do for them.
Yeah.
If they benefit from it, then right on. I'm not against that.
Yeah.
But I'm never I'm really aware.
Yeah.
Of that, and it's always playing into my decision making. And Miranda's seen that with me firsthand, right? And sometimes it can be annoying.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
If I can kind of add on to that, like talking about your audience and whatnot, so when I did my archive research, which was my first try, my first attempt, right?
Yeah.
Like the first time I had ever gone and done it. And when we had our disagreement about it, and I wasn't super sure like on my direction with it yet, just starting really broad, just going through the archives, just figuring out what way I was going to take my research. Because that's where the Crow stories are, that's where all their sources are. So I'm sitting there doing this research, and it took me a while to like realize that like I'm dealing with like knowledge about crows that I feel like it should be respected, and I kind of felt like I needed to kind of get a grasp on what I was doing before I tried to do any real research on it. Like where, like exactly that. Who is my audience? Where is this data going to go? And we had decided that my data would live in the archives, when I were to write about it. And wanting to treat that knowledge with enough respect, because it's not just me researching it. It's not just for me. this belongs to our entire tribe, and being conscientious of that and having the self-awareness that like I have to mind what I'm doing while I'm out there doing this research, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does. It does. And Aaron, you said it best, because there's this and and I know there's this internal sort of guard you have in your head all the time, because you're thinking about not necessarily any I don't know. When you say that tribe, it means something, and it probably doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. And I oftentimes I avoid even saying this is for the tribe. I often say, well, this is for the people that it matters, or my advisors, or the people in my community, versus the tribe. Because nowadays, when we talk about tribe, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong in this, but it doesn't seem like it was in the past, where there's sort of maybe a more cohesive unit. Because tribe now there's tribal government, there's these different pockets and communities, there's tribal leaders, there's tribal cultural people, there's tribal units that have nothing to do with
tribal
culture.
shenanigans.
Tribal shenanigans, yeah. And
tomfoolery and shenanigans.
Yeah, some tomfoolery. So
no, you're right though.
Yeah. So when I was writing this little piece, that was my thought. I said, this is who I want to read this. And it wasn't anybody back in my home, because I know they might not ever read this, because it's in an academic journal. It's written in a way that's, I don't know, not for the common person. It's like for academics, but this was for Indigenous academics, for the everyday Native scholar to pick up and read and say, oh, okay, I agree, or I disagree, or I agree, but this, and this, or I disagree because this is where you're wrong. It was written to sort of put this idea that I have about things out there in a way that's guised. And you could put anything in there. It could be human-plant relationship. It could be data sovereignty. It could be indigenous knowledge for science. It could be indigenous knowledge for social work. And you can find the same pattern of this paper in any one of those, where there's a misunderstanding. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, remember, one of the things, not to harp on old stuff, but that was one of our biggest deals, was like we in research method, to me, Indigenous research method was right away. It was really clear that it was a theory mass. It was a thought masked as a theory, right? It's just, it was this philosophy, this kind of superficial philosophy.
Yeah.
We saw that right away. Like, I remember you and I talked about it. This was years ago, and we we're like, this is not real. Okay. But then we started working on things, and we said, I remember having this conversation with you, and this got brought up that we could create a method that would work for all of these fields.
Yeah. I remember that.
Regardless of what you're talking about, it's pretty simple, because the application of native knowledge on a subject there's a way to do it. And we were getting to the point where we were like actually writing that down, and your papers, like once we started reading your paper, because of the things we had talked about, the things that we started doing, I could see where you were going.
Yeah.
I seen what you were setting up. And I was like, this, to me, because that's the way the native mind works. And it was cool because I'm not trying to claim your paper, but what I'm that approach.
Should I put you as a co-author? Sorry.
Yeah, I need to brush up on my CV. It was like watching science, like a real science, a testable hypothesis.
Sure.
Miranda was reading the paper, but you use very large words in there.
Yeah,
like you're very articulate. But
okay,
that's not even like that's not what was impressive.
Yeah.
What was impressive was that your paper made sense to a native scholar that didn't know the method.
Right.
That doesn't know the method. She
Right.
doesn't know. Miranda doesn't know the way Shandin thinks.
Right. Right.
But because she has some grounding and being Crow and Crow landscape,
Yeah.
the way you were writing, I could see it making sense to her.
Yeah.
You're talking about Salish plants. We're
Yeah.
not Salish, right?
Yeah.
But it made sense.
Yeah.
And that was, to me, what I seen was the moment that this made sense. What I seen last week didn't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing that was like, I was so into. I was like,
yeah.
I wonder who else had that moment. I want to know that moment. I want to, like, not in the sense of like, tell me about the moment you found inspiration. Like, I really want to know what triggered it in their brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what made it click inside their brain? Like, what was it? You know, like what
You mean
did it?
What click? Make what click?
Like when I watched her reading it, there was a click.
Oh,
there was like this
okay,
thing
okay.
that changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
While we were talking, I was sitting right next to her, and I'm like, well, what was it? I want to know exactly when it happened. And then I want to find out other Native scholars who experienced that thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to ask that though. I don't, because I attempted to ask a few people, and I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't either, because I tried to talk. Well, I feel like my dad had an idea about it. I talked to my sister, Aaron, and that I don't know how to explain that, like that moment of it where I read it and I was like, holy cow, like it just, I don't know. I don't even know how to talk about it, but it's funny because we went to the store after that and I was walking around Winco and then Aaron was like, are you okay? And I was like, no. No, I'm not okay.
I'm not okay. I'm not okay. It was awesome. I was all excited. She was like bummed out and kind of like going through this whatever. And I was like excited because I finally seen it. The stuff we talk about every time we record. The stuff that led to this podcast, the questions we asked. Years and years and years. The times we sat at the drum and visited about stuff, sat at the table and visited, all of it was just conversations between you and me.
Yeah.
And your paper is the result of your brain, but that made sense to me. I was like, yeah, of course Shandin's going to write like that. I've never seen anyone that actually experience, like, chain, I've never seen it.
Right.
The exact moment,
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. Even now, I guess I realize, like, now it's easy to explain to Miranda because she was sitting there.
Yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. Like so I had this.
I don't think you do.
I had the same realization, I think. where
let's hear about it.
Well, it's like when you
I want to hear it.
It's like when, I don't know, pick a sport. And let's say I got really into baseball and I bought a bat and I thought, man, this bat's awesome. It's a really good bat. And I used it. And when it wore out, I bought a bat of the same brand, same company. And I used this bat. And then somebody comes along and says, hey, why don't you try my bat? And then you try that bat and you realize you've been batting with garbage for 20 years. You're like, I've been loyal to this brand and this is garbage. This is a garbage bat. And this guy's just come along and show me this other bat. And now I can hit, I don't know, X amount of yards further. It's like that when you have those moments where you had something that you thought was pretty normal. You thought you were going along, and then you get this realization. You get kind of depressed. You have this depression because you think, I
guess that reminded me of like thinking about it, because like going through school and trying to figure out how to do everything, and like, and I was telling Aaron, I said, there was just something there that I just kind of bothered me.
Yeah.
Kind of bothered me like the whole time. I felt like I was churning milk into butter, just like trying to figure it out. And I think that realization hit. This
Yeah.
is what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what I should be doing or aiming for in my own research.
Yeah.
And it,
Yeah, I went through that.
I could feel it. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Well, and to add to that, I think that's where the disappointment lies, is because it's a realization and knowing that you can only get that from your people and not from a university.
Yeah.
Because the way Shandin thinks doesn't come from the university. I think what academics has given people like Shandin or myself or even you is like the ability to write. Like you learn a different lexicon. Like you might have a different audience to test what you're doing, or like hash out your circle changes a little bit, your network changes, but the core of it, the way you think, the way you're approaching the research you're doing, that doesn't come from the university. And remember, you even said, Miranda, you said, I realize now that if I'm going to do this research, and I can't remember, it was the cultural burning, right?
Yeah.
Or what was it?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's what I said. I said, I realize now that if I'm going to do this research, then it has to be at home.
Yeah, because that's,
to get
and
the
that
best
makes
result,
sense
they're more
after
effective
that.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that. So what I was gonna relate was I had this realization in grad school. What?
No, I want to hear this. This is the whole thing. I wanted to hear.
Yeah. So in grad school, I mean, I wasn't aiming to well, no, I guess I was. I was aiming to I wouldn't say revolutionize what I thought indigenous or native science was, but I wanted to make a contribution in a certain way. And I seen my peers around me utilizing what they claimed as indigenous methodologies, and I just felt like I was not I couldn't do what they were doing because it didn't feel right. Something felt wrong about it. And I think mostly because of this idea that has been sort of driven into indigenous scholarship, is that what we do is unique, different, and on top of all that, often billed as better than anything, better than Western science. And that is uncomfortable for me because I've never been raised to try to think what I do is above anybody or better than anybody. That's just the way that my mom raised me. It's like, no, you're not. And she didn't have to say these things. It's just her demeanor was transferred to me, and it always felt uncomfortable.
Did she give you like look? No,
not even that. She didn't have to do that. It's just growing up with her and knowing how she treated other people and how she treated situations. It just naturally copied that. And so even today, when I hear my fellow colleagues like pointing the finger at academics, the university, Western science as being all these horrible, bad things. And of course there's been things that were bad. Of course. But to say that what we know and what we our thoughts are this one level higher, I think that's really problematic, because then that tells me that there's something wrong with the ego if that's the thing that we're going to adopt. And that's what I sort of seen in a way when I was navigating through grad school. And finally I thought it just doesn't seem right. And I made the decision to say, I'm just going to jump through the hoop. I'm going to finish this. I'm not going to dress it up as indigenous research. I'm not going to dress it up as anything. I'm going to solve this very practical problem if I can, without bringing in the medicine wheel or the 7 grandmother teachings or anything. But what I did use was this diagram that I had drew up that seemed to illustrate sort of a theory of knowledge that made sense, that relied on the things that we believe in, how we validate knowledge, and where we seek our sources of power or inspiration, if you will. I used that. And I didn't rely on any of the cultural tropes of today, of holism, non-reductivism, relationality, none of that. I'm just going to approach this very practical problem. And it felt more authentic and real. I didn't have to dress things up, even though it seems like that's kind of what was wanted of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see that. The diagram that you're talking about, I'd like to see that.
Oh yeah.
But like the way you describe that, like going through grad school, like even in undergrad, you know, kind of just feeling almost like you don't fit in, or it's not, you know, not supernatural. Not supernatural, but not natural.
Yeah.
For me anyway, you know.
Yeah. No, you're
just want to
right.
clarify that.
Yeah, not supernatural.
And I don't know if that like segues into like imposter syndrome or whatnot, but you know, like so like when I go through these things, I wonder what other Native scholars are going through that too. You know, what are they running into, and like how are they dealing with these things?
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to hear like your account with it, and to just kind of know that you can come through that, you know. And there is the light at the end of the tunnel, you know.
There is. And it relies on figuring out where your idea of authenticity comes from. It's not going to come from it's not, I mean, it can come from many sources. I'm not going to say it's not going to come from a book, but we read a lot of things that don't make sense to help us make sense of a lot of things. We'll encounter more things that feel wrong than feel right. And I think those are things that help guide us into what we do. But in relation to that, like that division that's always drawn between science, Western science, indigenous science, or white people and Indian people, you know, that's in my experience, like you're coming to find out we're more alike than we are different. And the things that really make us different are the things that we think are not alike, or the things that we find are different are the things that we disagree on. Well, that didn't make no sense. That didn't make no sense.
Holy shit, dude.
I'm going off. But I'm trying to make a point.
Did you use it up? Did you use it up?
No. I got a point here. Because
all right.
Because this is the other thing. This is the one of the confusing things that happen. Not only this division, but this super generalization that all indigenous people, tribes, we're all different and unique, implying that even some people say this, well, there can't be just one indigenous methodology because we're all so different, you know, 500 different unique nations. We're all different. And I'm like, I don't know if that's entirely true. And I don't feel like it is, simply because of the fact that, so I wrote this paper and you get it. Aaron gets it. There are going to be other people that are going to get it too. There are going to be some other people that get it and they're going to get mad because they didn't want to get it. They're like, I don't agree with this, but they're going to get it. They're going to get it. They're not just going to read it and say, oh, wow, cool paper about indigenous things. It's going to evoke a reaction. So I think tribal people across Turtle Island, tribal people across North America, we're more similar than we've been fed to believe. And the first part of this paper that I wrote,
fed that by Indian. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that we're being fed that by non-Indians. The first part of this paper I wrote was really long, but I had to cut it out because I went past my word limit. But it was making that case that what I'm saying seems like it applies to all these groups. I don't know, but that's what it seems like. That was
well, it definitely seems like it applies to more groups than it does not apply.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe there's. It's hard to make the case that it's completely universal, but it's not as divided as we were led to believe.
Right.
I think there's basic premises that Native people follow, especially in North America. You know, I'm also one of these guys too that's really getting tired of like the whole world. We're like all Indigenous people around the world. It's like, let's just cool our jets here.
Yeah.
Let's just focus on where we're from.
Yeah. Take a time out.
Let's take a time out. We're starting to claim the universe and all this stuff. It's just getting bad. But it was nice to read your paper because I wouldn't say I'm in academics like I used to be. I'm always questioning things though, and I'm always looking into things. So it was nice to like just read. Well, I didn't even read. I was driving to listen to like common sense writing in Native research, because I had to clean the palate after what I had listened to. I'm getting tired of these people. I'm going to say this because this is part of this topic today.
This is it.
The catalysts for these moments of realization that Native scholars are having are typically born out of bad research. Bad work done. These aren't coming because they read the I Have a Dream speech. They're not happening from that. They're happening because they had a run-in with a bad scholar. And I don't mean bad like this mean person, but shallow work, superficial work, buzzword, trendy work, and like these things that are feeding into these popular narratives. They're not asking questions that are deep. They're not asking questions that are meaningful and relevant. They're not questioning themselves. They don't question themselves at all. They're just talking about buffalo and the red road and resilience and fucking ribbon skirts. And it's just like out of hand. And it's just like, in this particular like lecture that Miranda played, I think I heard indigenous ways of knowing. I heard that phrase, indigenous ways of knowing, 300 damn times. And it was like, but yet we were never presented with indigenous ways of knowing. Just talked about it. What did I tell you? How did I describe it? I said it's like she just hung around outside of an event and never went in. She went into the doorway, kind of came out. She like hung out in the parking lot. She like looked in the windows. She like did all this stuff, this lady, and she never actually freaking gave us anything. And I started getting frustrated. And I'm like turning to Miranda and I'm like, this is frustrating. Like this is like really frustrating to me because what?
Well, I was just thinking we stopped somewhere and then we got back in the car and I was like, should I play it? And then you got mad. You were like, well, if you want to make me mad, yeah.
It was like a bad drug. Like I wanted to hear more of it, but I was gonna be pissed off the whole time. I don't know.
He's there driving like Cruella on 101 Dalmatians. Just
taking it out on the engine.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to beat this. We don't have to beat this subject up anymore. But I was fascinated today by a moment that I seen that I wish more Native scholars would be really aware of, like when they have these moments. And I think it's not often too that we have somebody that's willing to talk about it, because young scholars, they're like their brains aren't developed. You know, and it's like, so the willingness to like dissect their own emotions is not there, you know. So I appreciated it. It was fun. I had a lot of fun with it. It like consumed a large part of my day.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. I know. I was like trying to digest it and he kept asking me and he was like smiling really big and I was like, man, shut up.
Shut up.
I was like, I don't even know what that was.
Oh man.
Well, I don't have nothing else. We've been recording for how long now? 2 hour and a half.
Hour and a half, yeah. Yeah, that's probably good. Time. There's a lot of issues. And I think the more it's not just in academics, it's all over the place, It's in communities where people get elevated because of what they think they ought to say, and those who think they ought to say it like what they say, so then they get put in front of the crowd to say the things they need to say, which are a little bit off base sometimes. But sincerity there was a virtue. I guess you could call it like a source virtue, right? So having a good source virtue means that you knew what was right, you knew what was honest, so that the people who could hear it, they were privileged to hear what you had to say because you were sincere, because you told the truth. And for the truth to be reconciled, it needs to be agreed upon. And right now I don't think we agree upon things, but it's not checked enough in academia because everyone's a bit too fragile to take that critique.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we should end on Miranda's dad's quote.
Yeah.
What'd your dad tell you?
Oh, I thought that was pretty cool. He said, some people seek to speak the truth. He said, wise people seek to find it.
Yep. I agree.
Boom.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Boom. Drop the mic. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for putting yourself in a compromising position. A fragile.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Fragile state, yeah.
Yeah, we caught Aaron when he was pregnant with ideas.
It's a wisdom child.
What kind of baby did you have?
A wisdom.
Oh yeah, wisdom baby.
A wisdom baby.
Say it like fat bastard.
Wisdom baby. You can keep your money. But let me have the baby.